Welcome to this group administration of a remote initial Elpac demonstration video, sponsored by the California Department of Education. Some instructions in the Directions for Administration, or DFAs, may have changed since the filming of this training video. During a test administration, follow all the directions in the current remote and in-person DFAs. By the end of this tutorial, you will understand how to set up, launch, monitor, and stop a remote group administration of the Initial English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, or Elpac. This video will demonstrate both a test examiner's logon and students signing into the web-based student testing interface. Also included are best practices for how test examiners should monitor and communicate with students during a test session. This demonstration is applicable for the following initial Elpac tests: Grades 3 to 12 listening tests, Grades 3 to 12 reading tests, Grades 3 to 12 writing tests. A remote initial Elpac may be administered in a small group of up to 4 students. During a small group administration, students are in full control of the testing interface. If a student does not have enough computer familiarity or English language proficiency to navigate through the logon process, it is recommended that they be assessed one-on-one rather than in a small group. Practice and training tests are available to use prior to testing in order to familiarize students with the logon process and navigating the testing interface. Directions for logging on to any Grades 3 to 12 remote initial Elpac are located in the Grades 3 through 12 initial Elpac listening, speaking, reading, and writing Directions for Administration Remote Testing Addendum. This addendum can be found in the Test Operations Management System, or TOMS. It should be used in tandem with the grade span-specific Directions for Administration, or DFA. Let's review those directions and then view a group administration of a remote test demonstration. First, make sure well in advance of administering a test that the test site coordinator has verified all the students' names, grade levels, statewide student identifiers, or SSIDs, test settings, and other demographic information in TOMS. Students must have been assigned an SSID prior to taking the initial Elpac. Test examiners will be unable to launch any computer-based test if a student does not have an SSID number. If a student's information needs to be updated, contact your site coordinator immediately. Remote Elpac test administration requires the use of the Test Administrator interface, the web-based student testing interface, and a video conferencing platform like Zoom or Google Meets. For this demonstration, the test examiner will be using Zoom. Test examiners will begin by starting a video meeting with the students. After greeting the students, log on to the Test Administrator, or TA interface, from the Elpac website to create a test session ID. Use your current year TOMS logon information. Sometimes, when test examiners log in to the TA interface, it does not open properly. The Data Entry Interface, or DEI, opens instead. If this happens, clear your browser cache, then log on to the TA interface again. If you run into a problem and still cannot log on, contact your test site coordinator for help. Once you've logged on, start a new test session by selecting the Start a New Session Now button. Select the Elpac test or tests being administered. Then select the Remote or Hybrid Radio button. For the initial Elpac, test examiners must select the Remote or Hybrid option when creating a test session. This is the only way to create a test session ID and a URL link to open the web-based student testing interface. Finally, select the Start Operational Session button. At this point, you will be presented with the session information pop-up box. Copy the URL link and share with the students via the chat feature of the video meeting. Before we watch a test demonstration, let's review the different ways you and the students can communicate during a remote group administration. Because you are in a video conferencing meeting with the students for the entirety of the test, you will not need to use all the communication features in the web-based student testing interface. If you need to communicate with all the students during testing, you can simply speak or send the group a chat message during testing. However, There may be instances where you need to communicate with only one student without distracting the other students. Or one student might have questions that the rest of the group does not have. In these instances, the communication features within the testing system should be used. There is a chat feature within the web-based student testing interface that the test examiner and students can use to send text messages to each other. Students are only allowed to communicate with the test examiner and not with any other students using this feature. To communicate with a student, the test examiner will go to the TA interface. There, select the thumbnail next to the student's name. That will open the communication tool. Select the Messages icon to chat with the student. If the student needs to communicate with you, the student can select the widget in the lower right corner of their screen. Selecting that thumbnail opens up their chat window. The student or test examiner can initiate a chat conversation. Sometimes the widget contains a sad cloud face. There is no need to be concerned if the sad cloud appears, since the student is being monitored through the video conferencing meeting rather than the student testing interface. If the student does not have enough English proficiency to read or write a chat message, the test examiner will need to use the video conferencing breakout room feature to meet with the student and give them support during the test. If this is needed, a proctor must be present in the video meeting to monitor the rest of the student's testing while the test examiner is meeting individually with the student. The other tool that can be used during a remote group administration is the screenshare feature. This feature allows a test examiner to view a student's screen. When this feature is in use, only the test examiner can see the student's screen. It will not be displayed to other students. However, it is likely that if a student needs to share their screen, the student may also need to speak with the test examiner. And again, that is best done in a breakout session so as not to distract the other students. If a test examiner needs to view a student's screen, the test examiner can do so by selecting the View icon from the chat video window. A message appears letting you know that you have requested screen share permission from the student. Before you can view a student's screen, the student will first need to grant you permission to view their screen. To do so, the student will mark the I agree box. Then the student will need to select Allow to grant permission. A red dotted line will appear around the student's screen, indicating that the test examiner can now see their screen. It will disappear when the test examiner is no longer viewing the student's screen. On the test examiner's computer, you will see a window with a live feed of the student's screen. If you are still in the large group video conferencing meeting, you can communicate with the student via a chat message while viewing their screen. To disconnect a screen share, select the End button. Now, let's watch a test examiner begin the logon process with a small group. The test examiner will be launching the grades 9 through 12 listening test.
Hi, Megan and McKenna. Thank you for joining me today. Today you're going to take the initial Elpac test. So since both of you are fortunate enough to know another language other than English, the state of California wants to make sure that we are doing our job in developing your English. So this test is going to show us all the English that you already know. And the results may help your teachers know what they should do to help you in class. So some parts of this test may seem easy and some parts of this test may seem hard, and that's okay. Just do your best. So now, no one can help you with this test. You can't have your phone, no books. You can't have your mom or dad or older sister help you with answers. But that's okay, because I'll be here the whole time, and if you have a question, you can ask me. What you can have is a pencil and a piece of paper. So do you have those things? Yeah? Okay. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Megan. Okay. You can also have headphones. Megan, I see you have yours. McKenna, you don't have to have them, but if you want headphones, you can. It might help you hear parts of the test better. So Do you have any questions so far? No?
No.
Okay. And if you don't want to say anything out loud, you can just shake your head or nod your head for no or yes. That's okay too. Since this is a test, you do have to keep your camera on in Zoom the whole time. And like I said before, I'm going to be with you the whole time. Now, if something happens, because it does, if your internet goes out or Zoom drops you or something happens, just rejoin the Zoom meeting, okay? And I'll help you get started again. Okay, so if anything happens, come back and join the Zoom meeting when you can. Once we log in to the test, I'll show you how you can send me messages and how we can talk. Since this is a group, since there's two of you, we have to be careful. I don't want either of you distracted by me or the other person, so I'm going to show you how we can talk to one another during the test. So right now, I'm going to start the test session, and I'm going to set up our test. Today you're going to take the listening, the reading, and the writing test. And for each one, you will have to log in. So right now in the chat, I am putting a link. Open up your chat, and you don't even have to copy it. Just select that link. It should open up to a page where you see a logon screen. Do you see one yet?
There are say directions in the grades 3 to 12 remote addendum for test examiners to use as they guide students through the logon process. However, it is okay for test examiners to use additional directions and student-friendly language to engage the student and provide any help needed during this time.
You're going to put in your name, where it says first name, and then that long 9-digit number that I sent you, you're going to put here where it says SSID. And you can see that the test session ID is already filled in for you, so you don't have to do that at all. So I want you to put in your first name, put in your SSID, and then click that green sign in button. So you see your information there. Go ahead and click yes. And then you're going to see a screen that has 3 tests on it. It has boxes. Okay, do you see that, McKenna? The 3 tests? Do you see the one that says listening? It says start initial Elpac grade 9 to 12 listening test. So now you have to wait for me to approve you. Once I've approved you, you are going to complete a sound and video playback check. We're going to make sure you can hear the sound in your computer. You can go ahead and select that play button. You can hear it. McKenna, can you hear the music? Okay, so you can select I could hear the sound. So now, do both of you see the begin test now at the bottom of the page? You do? Okay, so go ahead and begin test now.
After the student logs on and selects Begin Test Now, the test examiner moves from using the remote testing addendum to the grade span specific initial Elpac DFA. However, if this is the first test that students are taking where they control the testing interface, it is recommended that the test examiner explain some of the communication features to the students prior to beginning the test.
Before you listen to the directions, I want to make sure you know how to talk to me. Okay, you can send me a message in the Zoom chat, or if you want a message that goes just to me, there's a way you can do that. So look down at the bottom of your screen, the bottom right corner of your screen. Do you see a circle? It might be white, it might be black, it might be a different color. You see a circle? Yes, that is it. Select that circle. When you select it, a box pops up, right? And you can send me a message there. Let's try it. I want you each to send me a message. Just say hi, H-I. Oh, I got Megan's. And I'm gonna say hi back. Okay, you see mine? So those only come to me. You girls can't see each other's. And then if you want to make that box smaller, because right now it's covering your test a little bit, right? So there's an X up in the corner of that little box. Select the X and it will close the box. Tell me when you're done. If you want to talk to me, we'll have to go into a Zoom breakout room. But select that circle again. I want to show you how to talk to me. So in that circle, when the box comes up, you see a raised hand icon. Do you see a hand? If you want to ask me a longer question and you don't want to type it, or you're not sure how to type it, raise your hand and we'll go into a breakout room and we'll talk. Okay? Do either of you have any questions? No? Okay. So you will begin the listening test now. This is the listening section of the Elpac test. In this part of the test, you will listen carefully to some recordings. So look at your screen. The screen contains test directions. The questions on this test begin on the next screen. At this time, please play the directions and then select Next to begin the test. And I should double check. Do you see up at the top of your screen on the left, do you see a green arrow and it says Next? Okay, that's how you're going to get from question to question. So you may press play and listen to the directions now.
The test examiner can monitor students' progress through the test in the TA interface. When students have reached the end, they may be unsure of how to submit the test. It is okay to give oral instructions concerning ending and submitting the test.
Megan, I see that you are all done with the listening test. That's great. Select End Test, then Yes, then Submit Test, then Yes. Good, okay. And then select the green Log Out button. Okay. So now you're going to take the reading test, Megan. So you will need to log on again. Do you still see the link in the chat to log on? You're going to select that link again and it's going to reopen the page.
Thank you for watching this group administration of a remote initial Elpac demonstration video. For more information, please visit the Elpac website at elpac.org.